you so much, Mr. Chair. My amendment would block a proposal put out by the Office of Management and Budget that would overhaul how federal grants are dispersed across the government, including the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, which is under the jurisdiction of Homeland Security. The change would require all federal grants to be approved by President Trump's political appointees. In other words, it gives President Trump's political allies a veto over any and all grant-making throughout the federal government. So, what does that mean? No longer will grants be dispersed in the manner that the Congress had envisioned, that we as members of the Congress have envisioned in a response to what our constituents are interested in. No more will the recipient be evaluated on their genuine need or qualification. The test will be a simple one the president has often deployed during his time in office. What's the test? The test is this: are you sufficiently loyal to the president or to President Trump? Mark my words now, this change, if allowed to take place, will result in the denial of life-saving disaster relief funding for communities simply because they did not vote for President Trump. He has already shown a willingness to do this in the past. By March of this year, President Trump had approved just 23% of disaster relief funding requests for states with Democratic leadership. At the same time, he approved 89% of requests for Republican-led states. President Trump blocked assistance for Illinois, even after a pair of storms in the summer of 2025 caused $129 million in residential damage. Meanwhile, Alaska, Missouri, Tennessee, and Oklahoma all had their assistance approved. When the president announced the aid for these states on social media, he made sure to note that he won those states during his presidential elections. He said the quiet part out loud. That's unprecedented. Presidents from both parties have granted disaster aid requests from both parties with relative parity, dating back to the creation of FEMA. This regulation from OMB is an attempt to formalize the president's view that only his political allies, his political cronies, deserve relief. We saw this same attitude during the COVID-19 pandemic, when President Trump prioritized the distribution of life-saving medical equipment to states that he viewed as supportive of him. It's outrageous. Natural disasters are indifferent to your political affiliations. Hurricane floodwaters do not stop at your door because of the sign that may be on your lawn. There was a time when we elected presidents of both parties who knew that when they took office, they had a duty to all Americans, not just the ones who voted for them. This rule by OMB is a rejection of that principle. It is a fundamentally un-American way to govern. But people will say that that's just the way that Donald Trump does business. We should not normalize this bad behavior and this behavior that puts our states, our people, our constituents in jeopardy because of some unforeseen natural disaster. It is wrong, and this is the committee that should stop it. I encourage my colleagues to support this amendment. Let us reassert our power of the purse. Above all, my friends, this removes the power of every single member of this committee, every single member of the Congress, of being a part of suggesting the kinds of grants that are needed and the awards that are needed when our communities are faced with a natural disaster. Don't allow Russ Vought or the President of the United States to take and snatch that power from our hands. Reassert that power of the purse, refute the president's cynical attempt to exploit the power of his office for personal gain. I yield back.